Accessing library computer data.
And to make sure that history never forgets the name Enterprise.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Pensky Podcast. You haven't tuned in before, this is a podcast where we are running through all 178 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, giving our thoughts and feelings about each and every one. And right now we're up to episode 2 of season 7. It is called Liaisons. It was directed by Cliff Bole. Teleplay goes to Jean Carrigan Fauci and Lisa Rich, and the story credit goes to Roger Espacher and Jacques Grenspan. Some good names there. Aired back on September 27th, 1993. In this episode, as alien dignitaries visit the ship, Picard's shuttle crashes on a desolate planet where he meets a woman who has been stranded there for 7 years. Clay is here to talk about this one. We're going to continue our kickoff of Season 7. We just finished Descent, and now we're moving on to Liaisons. So right after this, me and Clay are going to go deep on Liaisons.
Enter!
Worf, they're going to be here any minute.
I'm having problems.
If I didn't know you better, I'd say that you were procrastinating.
Klingons do not procrastinate. It is a tactical delay.
You have to spend about 5 minutes greeting the Liaisons when they get here and maybe an hour making small talk at this reception. I'm the one who has to escort them around the ship for the next 3 days.
I do not enjoy these diplomatic situations.
It's all part of being in Starfleet. There.
I do not see why it is necessary to wear these ridiculous uniforms.
Protocol.
They look like dresses.
That is an incredibly outmoded and sexist attitude. Surprised at you. Besides, you look good in a dress.
Everybody, welcome back. We're continuing Season 7. This is the second episode. We're joined by Clay. Clay, how are you?
I'm good. You can probably hear in my voice I'm a little bit stuffed up because I was just sobbing uncontrollably at the beautiful ending of this episode.
Oh, yeah. Clay's got a cold because he had his own personal liaison with a bus that went to a big city in America. So obviously you're not going to come out of that very well.
Yeah, also you probably shouldn't lick all the metal things you put your hands on.
But it tastes good.
Yeah, it's really hard not to.
It's the Ass Penny sketch from, what the hell was that? Was that,
Is that UCB?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Liaisons. So we haven't had a Star Trek podcast. I recorded with Modi the other day, but we haven't recorded a Star Trek podcast in a very long time because I had a kid, and that took up a lot of time. And
what is a kid?
I can't even remember what the aliens, the Asarans or something. My Asaran doctor was very concerned.
Second question, does he like desserts?
Can I touch him inappropriately in this hallway? Yeah, so we're back. It's good to be back in the saddle. I'm happy to be recording again. And Clay, welcome back. So let's smash this one out of the park. Let's talk about Liaisons.
Boom.
Which is French for liaison, which means the binding or thickening agent of a sauce, often based on egg yolks, which is an interesting... That's the number 2 definition. The actual definition is communication or cooperation that facilitates a close working relationship between people or organizations. That definition might be the most interesting part of this episode, although I will say off the bat that the thing that I take away most from this episode is... There's 2 things. There's like 1A, which isn't really the main takeaway. The show is starting to get really meta at this point. Mm-hmm. It's really the opening scene here is totally a self-referential meta kind of joke where they're making fun of the dress uniforms and everything like that.
Right.
And also, the other takeaway I take from this episode is Michael Dorn did pretty well with his comedy in this one, I thought. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, he does frustrated Worf very well.
Yeah. It's a good look for the character, I think. And he's they're giving him a chance to sort of go with it. And I think earlier seasons he probably would have not had the patience that he has in this episode. Mm-hmm. You know, he's kind of grown as a character, I suppose. But the The general breakdown of this one is some aliens come onto the ship, a couple of ambassadors, and they get sort of escorted around for a few days. Worf gets one of them, and when that ambassador he gets is sort of antagonistic towards Worf. Deanna Troi gets another one, and he seems interested in eating. And Picard is sort of on a exchange program where he's going to go to this alien planet and talk to them, except he gets in a shuttlecraft crash where he lands on a desolate planet and he meets a woman who's been stranded there for 7 years. And she seems a little bit like Kathy Bates out of Misery, except minus the sledgehammer. So that's pretty much it. What did you think about this one?
That was fine.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, up until, not that the last 5 minutes or anything too revelatory, but I don't know. This one, a lot of it felt very season 1 to me.
That's funny you say that. I was sort of shocked that this is a last season episode. I always thought it was much earlier in this one. I remember this one quite decently. And I think it's like everything from the alien design. It's like the alien
You mean their sweet gray jumpsuits?
Yeah, they're sweet sort of like sweatsuits. Like they're sort of just sweatpants suits that they're wearing.
It looks like that's what the actor was supposed to wear, like underneath the top part of the suit.
Right. Like the
Borg,
like
there was some there was some like elaborate armor that was supposed to go on top, but they just didn't have time and they said, "Fuck it, just put him in front of the camera."
It's I also agree that it feels very season 1 in that, and this is going to be sort of a trend for season 7. People who are familiar with the show know that season 7 is kind of an off year for the show, unfortunately. It feels season 1-ish to me in the fact that they meet this race, and the race does not explain their major trait right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it feels like that was the season 1 complaint we had all the time, that they would meet a race and they would not sort of know anything about the race, and they would not know their major characteristic, and it would be a mystery about what it is for the entire episode.
Yeah.
This one feels that way to me.
Yeah, I think you get into a problem because especially when the reveal of whatever it is isn't particularly interesting.
Yeah.
It really hinders the storytelling you're able to do, because I feel like if you know what they're about going in, then that opens up the kinds of stories that you can tell. Because, everybody understands what's going on and what the idea is. But when you keep it a secret like this, it's kind of, I don't know, it's just at the end, it's like, oh, no, we just wanted to know what love is like.
Right.
We're really big Foreigner fans.
They're also, they're not really mysterious enough. There's no mystery to what they are. They're kind of just acting like difficult people. You know what I mean? It's not
right.
like there's a mystery as to like, why are they doing this? Like, why are they acting this way? It's really just they just have kind of a weird way of going about learning things, and they don't tell people this is how they learn things. And like, can they?
Yeah, like I feel like this whole thing could have been cleared up, and it would have been a lot easier for everybody if they had just said it from the beginning.
Right. And
instead of instead of goading Worf into a fist fight and trying to, grab Picard by the pussy.
Topical humor.
Topical.
And anyone watched Lincoln, the movie, recently? Yeah,
I hear it's really good.
It's really good. I agree with that. Like, this all could have been, I think Picard even sort of says it at the end. He's like, you could have just told us this and we would have avoided 45 minutes. I don't think this is a very strong episode. And I think a lot of it hinges on the fact that of the 3 storylines, Deanna Troi's is not really a story because there's no conflict whatsoever in it. Worf's,
she just can't handle all that sugar.
Yeah, she just can't. This guy wants to eat and drink, and she's just slightly perturbed by it. Worf has a good storyline, I think. I like his the best, I think, out of all of them. I think his makes most sense. Yep. And Picard's is kind of the narrative arc. Although, did you remember this one? It seemed like you mentioned before you didn't remember how this one wrapped up. I mean, do you remember watching it before this time you watched it?
Oh, no, I don't remember watching this one ever.
Okay. Was it a mystery to you?
I mean, once the guy showed up again at the end, I figured it out pretty quickly.
Sure.
honestly, I didn't really care.
I mean, did you think that when you were watching the scenes, did you think that she was a normal stranded person? Or did you think immediately that something was up?
Not immediately. Well, I don't know. They kind of do they do a little bit of a flip right off the bat, because they show Picard being dragged away very ominously, but then it turns out it's that woman who's very kind to him, so they kind of invert a little bit there.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I didn't. I guess once they started doing the stuff with the locked door, then things got a little bit suspicious.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. It wasn't interesting enough for me to really think about it too much.
Yep.
And once they did the thing where she leaves and then the guy shows up, and I was like, all right, I understand what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't understand the extent of it, that he was just looking for some sweet Picard action. Yeah. But
a very progressive episode when you think about it.
I guess.
Yeah, it's hot on the heels of the Outcast. This one has Picard being overpowered by the woman who just wants to love him. I
actually enjoyed the stuff on the ship.
You mean the crash ship?
Yeah, no, the on the Enterprise.
Oh, okay.
Because I think I've talked about this before, but you get to a certain point with these characters where they know them well enough, the actors know them well enough, and the writers know them well enough that you can kind of watch them just be those characters.
Yeah,
and it's pretty entertaining.
Yep.
And I think this was one of those episodes, because I think the stuff on the ship was at least fun, and there's always some humor to be found in the Enterprise crew meeting up with a new race who doesn't understand, human social mores and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Whereas the stuff with Picard on the planet, because it wasn't really going anywhere, didn't really seem that it is. I feel like they've done that 1,000 times at this point.
Yeah.
And the stuff with the girl wasn't strong enough for me to be really interested in it.
Yeah, I didn't think any of the stories are. It feels to me, I don't know off the top of my head, it feels to me this could have been a rushed script, because I think the idea is okay, but the narratives themselves, like within the idea, aren't interesting whatsoever. Right. And if you had another pass on this, maybe you'd make the stuff with Picard more of a mystery instead of just kind of being a weird Kathy Bates ripoff of thing, like a Misery sort of play.
Yeah.
Or even turn it more into Misery, make it more threatening towards him or something.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Now that I'm thinking about it, it would be interesting if excuse me.
Sure.
I don't know if there's a way you could do this given the underlying concept of what they're doing, but it would be interesting if the story with Picard had the alien posing as the woman tried to embody all three of the aspects that they were trying to investigate.
Yep.
So, but they don't know how they all work together.
Right.
So there's, the level of antagonism that they think goes into the equation that equals love might be too high, or you know what I mean? That kind of. I guess they kind of do that a little bit, but it's. I think you're right. I think they could have pushed that a lot further and done something pretty interesting with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they even really sort of. I think there's a central problem, but they never really define it. Like, can these aliens feel emotion? They can, right?
I guess.
I don't.
I mean, yeah, they don't really ever say that they can't.
Right, and they seem to be like, oh, that was fascinating. Like they seem to enjoy the experience when it happens. So,
well, the thing that I wish someone had pulled the alien pretending to be the girl aside and just like whispered in his ear what the the act of love entailed, and watch him just like freak out, especially after that other scene where Troy asks how they procreate, and he's like, well, we just get our two genetic codes, we throw them into a blender, and then we just make them in a toaster.
Yeah, with egg yolk. Liaison.
Yeah. So just have like a silent whisper, and then he goes, what? That's what that means?
He just gets in the shuttlecraft and flies off, and it's just like, well, I know, it's... I just think it's like it's just not a strong enough sort of take on it. When you don't define what the aliens are all about and you don't define anything, you don't care enough to give them an actual costume. You just dress them up in black. It all just feels very, very sort of low. And I agree with you that I think the best parts are the parts on the ship. The Worf and Data conversation at the buffet is great.
Good. The one thing that did kind of turn me off, or irk me a bit, was the way that Michael Dorn chose to cut that roast beef, like very slowly and very methodically, like he was massaging it with the blade. It was. I know he was trying to go for like stifled anger. Yeah, but it was coming off as something else.
He just didn't want to go back and deal with the guy, whatever his name is. I think that's a now that I'm stumbling over
the one alien who was on the Atkins diet and needed the high protein intake.
He needed more protein. I think it's a sign of a bad episode when I was reading the sort of recap on Wikipedia, and I didn't know which of the aliens were which. One of them is Voval, one of them is Lokel, one of them is Byleth. And if you held a gun to my head, I could not tell you which one is which at the end of the story. It's that kind of like a laziness to it where you just don't you don't really care when it's all said and done.
Is this one, do you know, capped on either end by a Data heavy episode? Because I was surprised that he was only in it for that one scene.
No. Well, I mean, Descent before it was Data.
Okay.
And after this is a Geordi episode, so he had, maybe it was Descent interfering, but yeah, you'd think that like if you have one of these characters, right? Although I guess it screws it up because they know what they're looking for. I was thinking if you paired one of these aliens with Data and he was getting frustrated, by Data not being able to trigger any of the things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't do that because
they
can tell immediately. Like the antagonist guy says he doesn't want to hang out with Riker. He wants to hang out with Worf instead. Which is again another sort of take on the Enterprise crew. Doesn't seem prepared, but the people they encounter seem to know everything about the Enterprise crew. They've done their homework, obviously.
Well, I was wondering that. I was thinking about that too, because I mean, if you were in their position, could you not have made a fairly informed guess as to which one of those two guys is probably more prone to punching someone in the face?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, especially if you know anything about Klingons at all.
Other races, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna pick the Klingon.
Yeah.
Now, if the other guy really wanted to learn about the art of love, he would have stayed on the ship and gone off with Riker.
Yes, definitely. Pleasure, like he. Yeah, pleasure was. They went very PG with their pleasure take, which is basically eating chocolate all the time. They could have gone in a lot of different places with that. Could have done something with Geordi. All Geordi really has is that scene where the guy asks, "Are you smarter than this one?" And Worf has to just take it, and then he wants to see the Buzzard Collectors, which is interesting.
Now I want to see the guy who ends up with Picard just going around to everybody and getting their own interpretation of what love is.
Yep.
So like he goes to Geordi and Geordi does something and then he very clearly says, I don't know what love is, but I'm pretty sure it's not this.
You see him walk out of the Leah Brahms holodeck program and he's just like, that does not feel right.
I don't know what that was, but I know that it was wrong.
Yeah, he could have fallen around Riker. He could have done all that stuff. And
oh man, he would have had a feel. Oh, they should have sent the pleasure guy off with Barclay.
Yeah. You could have done a lot of stuff. I think there's just better characters, I think, than certainly Troy is not really built for this kind of a storyline, I don't think.
She loves chocolate cake.
Yeah, that's true.
We've known that since day one.
This is written into the Bible of the show that she loves chocolate. Picard feels like the wrong one for love, sort of. Even though the last season he had his terrific lessons
also
episode.
The name of his first album.
Yeah, it's a bestseller. I don't know. I think there's just a lot of stuff about this episode I'm just not particularly crazy about, and I don't know if it's deep enough to sort of pick apart, or if it's just like you're supposed to just let it lay there and just accept it.
What's kind of interesting is the other two things are very one. I guess where like I guess kind of what I was thinking before about kind of having them all work at the same time is the other two things that they delve into are all very one-dimensional things. Mm-hmm. But, having one guy who's just whose thing is like just all of love.
Yeah.
That's kind of a much harder much harder to thread that needle.
Well, he's also, the other two are direct, right? They're not hiding what they're doing.
Well, the guy with Worf is pretty cagey about it. He's just being a dickhead.
Yeah. I mean, but there's no real deception going on. Like there is deception that he doesn't actively want to antagonize him, but it's much easier to accomplish that goal than it is to pretend to be a female, hit on Picard and do all that stuff. Basically, the guy who had the love assignment got the hardest one to do.
Yeah. I'd love to be there when they're handing out the assignments and then have that guy be like, can I just also be the guy who eats cake for an hour?
He's like, what is love? They're like, that's a great song. Yeah.
This was much harder than I thought it was going to be.
I don't know. I mean, this might be an episode that's more interesting the further on we get into season 7 and kind of things. This to me feels very typical of what season 7 is going to be. It's just kind of a writer's room running on steam and overworked, and the scripts aren't going to be as thought out or as sort of cohesive as they have been in past years.
Now, are they concurrently writing Generations during this season?
Yes. So Ron Moore and Brandon Braga are working on Generations at this point as well as working in the writer's room here.
Oh, boy.
And I think there's only like 5 writers on the show at this point because everyone got pulled off to Deep Space Nine. So...
Awesome.
Deep Space Nine is being fed the talent from TNG at this point. Paramount has made the decision at this point to not have an 8th season of the show. They wanted to go to movies instead. I don't know if that's the right decision to make, although I don't know if season 7 is weak because they had made this decision or if the show has now run out of gas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if season 8 would have been like season 7 is now, and season 7 would have been another good season. I don't know about that. But anyway, they're focusing on the movies. The writer's room is being pulled apart, and the actors know they're not coming back, and that they are going to be free to move on outside of the movies. So that's sort of where we sit with season 7.
They're free to, but they might not necessarily.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about this episode. It's not particularly interesting. I'll give you $10 if you can tell me which alien is Locale.
The antagonist one.
No, he's the sweet-eating one. Yeah, that's tough. That's pretty much it. I think I'm just going to play an audio clip. Sorry, guys, it was a short one, but this is not a great episode. And we'll just move on to the next one after this in a couple days. But we're going to play an audio clip. Me and Clay are going to come back. We're going to give our final thoughts and ratings. It's been a while, about Liaisons.
What are you doing? You should be in bed.
Anna, why was this door locked from the outside?
For your protection.
From what?
There are dangerous animals here. Come sit down. Look, I have the compound.
Good.
It wasn't easy. I had to force it out of the equipment bay.
If we can boost the output field, I might be able to send a distress signal. Something seems to be wrong with it.
What's the matter?
Well, this transmitter module has been totally destroyed. How could that happen? It looks as though it's been hit by a phaser blast.
I used a phaser to cut it free. Maybe I accidentally damaged it. Well, you can fix it, can't you?
No.
Why won't you love me? Why? Liaisons.
Well.
Guys, if you're on YouTube, you can click in the upper right-hand corner. There's a little thing there. It'll show you a poll. You can vote on our 1 to 5 scale about what you think about this episode. Clay, why don't you start us off? I think I'm interested in sort of seeing where you landed on this one.
This is tough.
Is this a 2 or a 3 to you, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I would say if it's not a 3, it's a high 2.
Yep.
I guess I'll go with 3.
Okay.
Cuz I don't know, it's just like the stuff that I like in it is pretty good. Like there's nothing really bad about it, you know? It's the characters are as they are. They're written fairly well. They're acted fairly well. Half of the episode is, you know, enjoyable if not completely forgettable.
Right.
I don't really have that much of a problem with the plot, except for the fact that it would have been a lot easier if they just, you know, were out in the open about it.
Right. Yeah. This was just sorry to interrupt, but this was the one of the few episodes. I was watching it. I thought if I was watching this back when it aired in '93, I probably would have been disappointed after the hour was over.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but yeah, I would give it a 2, but I didn't mean to interrupt. I think it's kind of a high 2, like you were saying.
Yeah, I guess it's tough because if I was watching this at the time and I knew it was the last season and I knew that, you know, this was their last swing at it, I would probably be pissed off because this is a very, you know, we've got other things we need to focus on episode. And again, I mean, it's tough. You can't have 22 episodes all be best of both worlds,
right?
But you know, I don't know. I always like to assume that if you know you're going into your final season, you're gonna, you know, put a little bit more elbow grease on it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it seems like a lot of the time, a lot of shows don't.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this has been a couple bad episodes in a row because Descent 2-parter is not a good 2-parter. This is not a good episode. Although season 6 started out very weakly as well, so I don't know. It's just tough. I was just thinking like, I just don't care about this one. I guess I would have been upset watching it. I think it's not. And it's like you said, there's nothing particularly wrong with it. It's just not really, it's not all that interesting at all. Like no aspect of it I'm like, wow, that's a neat thing they did there, or that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like even the aliens when they showed up, I thought maybe they were a species that had shown up before.
Yeah, right.
Because they're so bland looking.
Yep. Like
they kind of look like Cardassians a little bit, but they kind of look like other stuff. Like they're nondescript gray. I don't know. It's just they're just. I mean, they are literally just a bland species. That's their whole thing. Is they're just a bland people.
Yep.
Who only eat crackers and just build their children in microwaves.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god, I agree. Yeah, I'll give it a 2. Clay will give it a 3 maybe, unless he's revised his mind. But
yeah, low 3.
Yeah, low 3. It's Liaisons. Guys, give us your thoughts and feelings. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening. YouTube like and the comments, appreciate it. iTunes rating helps. You can go to all the other podcatchers and listen to us there. Write us there if you can. Patreon.com/Lipinski Podcast. You can give a couple dollars. You get some exclusive content. Tomorrow, after this episode comes out, you're going to get Jurassic Park from me and Clay. If you guys are Patreon members, so Jurassic Park's coming out. We've done Event Horizon. We did Life Force. We did Galaxy Quest.
This is too... maybe should we start a subset Sam Neill only podcast between this and Event Horizon?
Oh, that's
Jurassic
true.
Park and Event Horizon. We may as well just start going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, we'll just have to do The Matrix, and then what's another Sam Neill thing that I can't...
No, Sam Neill's not in The Matrix.
Oh, damn it. What? That's
Are you thinking of Hugo Weaving?
Hugo Weaving, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. My apologies. So what else? What's Sam Neill's big...
Yikes. He was in The Omen Part 2.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And he was in... I don't know. He shows up in shit all the time. He's in something new coming out, I think, that looked pretty good. I can't remember what it's called.
All right, we'll save this for the Jurassic Park thing, I guess, then. But yeah, guys, go to Patreon to do that. A couple bucks gets you that exclusive content. And then go to Facebook.com/Podcast, and you can do all that stuff. Leave comments and likes and blah, 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 blah. That's all that housekeeping. Clay, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me back.
Guys, I appreciate you listening. We're almost done with TNG. I'm getting bittersweet. I'm getting a little misty-eyed as I'm watching my DVDs flip through, and then there's only going to be like a couple more, and then we're all done with this.
So the real question is, after you are done with this, are you ever going to watch this show ever again?
Yes. I guess I can hint at this now. I sort of have like a lot of thoughts about it. I don't know how I'm going to do this in the podcast form, but it's as I mentioned before, I've never seen the show all the way through chronologically like this before. I will watch it. I feel this is cut down on a lot of episodes that I would potentially watch. And that shouldn't be, don't interpret that too negatively, I guess. The show's still my comfort food for a TV show.
Right.
So it's always going to have that, but it's been very eye-opening, to say the least, anyway. But yeah, guys, that's it. Liaisons. We'll be back with Interface sometime in the near future. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you later.